Hello, welcome to the Woodcrafted Workshop. My name is Brian, and in this video, we're going to be building this beautiful splayed leg cherry end table that features four-sided tapered legs, joined at 4 degrees, with a top that has a beautiful sweeping underbevel. So stick around.
First, we're going to start with breaking down this piece of 8-quarter cherry. We're going to get the legs and the table aprons from this one board. Here we're flattening 2 surfaces before we go back and cut the legs on the table saw. Here are final dimension of the legs, which are 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. Here we're taking the aprons down to the final thickness, which will be 3/4 of an inch.
Now that the final dimension of the lumber is finished, we're going to start with the legs. Now the legs, the blanks themselves were 27 inches long, and they're 1 3/4 by 1 3/4, and we're going to be cutting a 4-sided taper using the taper and jig. This is what the final leg will look like before joinery. So we're going from 1 3/4 down to around 5/8 of an inch. So let me show you how I made these. So we're going to take a combination square, and we're going to mark out the bottom of the leg all the way around. Then I'm going to take a tape measure. I'm going to mark down approximately 4.5 inches. This is around about where I want the taper to start on the leg. So it's going to run from here all the way down to the bottom. The jig settings are already set from cutting the other leg, so we're just going to lay this leg in the jig. We're going to lock it down. And that's approximately so you can see where the blade's going to hit right about that line there. It should end up right around this line here, maybe a little bit under. All right, so there's our 4-sided taper. Nice and clean. If there's any burn marks in here or any kind of blade marks, we would take it over to the bench and hit it with a hand plane. So let's see how the next one turns out, and if we have to hit it with the plane, we'll do that. Now we're going to clean the cuts up a little bit with the hand plane. What I have here is a bench hook, which is a simple piece of plywood with a hook here. I lock it into the vise. And there's a little lip here to hold my workpiece. Ooh, I got some tear out there, so it's got some squiggly grain. Just flip it around and see if we can get rid of that. If not, we'll have to hit it with some sandpaper. Even though the grain is straight, it has some swirls in it. It's a little bit better. We'll have to hit that with some sandpaper. Whoop. Swap it around. There goes the grain again. All right, looks good. What we're about to do is add a decorative bead along the bottom edge of our aprons. We set up a beading bit in the router. We set it to the depth we want, and then we're gonna make the cuts. Now we need to cut our angles in our aprons to give us our splay on the leg. And we've taken the miter gauge here, we set it to 4 degrees, which is gonna give us a pretty good angle on the legs. And that was gonna cut them out. Now, side aprons are cut to 7 inches, and the front ones are gonna be cut to 13 or 14, so. It's important the bead side goes down because this is going to be the bottom of the apron. Now we have our first cut. We're going to roll the piece over on our stop block here and make our second cut. For the joinery, we're going to use dowels. It's going to be the easiest way to make up for the angles that we're using. You could use pocket holes if you wanted. You could certainly use mortise and tenon. You could use a domino. The mortise and tenon is going to be a little tougher. You're going to have to figure out the angles in the actual tenons when it comes to putting the table together. So this is going to make it easier, and watch how quick it is. There's our first 4. Now it's time to put the dowels in the aprons. The aprons are 3/4 of an inch in thickness. So what we need to do is drop the shims out of the dowel max. So we don't want to leave them in there because this is set up to drill center on 3/4 of an inch. just like the legs, we're gonna just like the legs. I'm just gonna put this on the edge, tighten it up. Drill our holes. So we've sanded all the aprons and legs up to 180, starting at 80 grit, working our way up to the grits, and now we're gonna glue the base up. The table base out of clamps. Now we need to work on these high angles. We gotta take them down so that our tabletop sits flush. So what I've done, is take some sandpaper and stuck it down to the table saw. We're simply gonna lay the table down here and just work it back and forth until we get the desired flatness. Took about 10 minutes of sanding, so you can see the angle change here, all the way across. And what that leaves us is a top that is sitting pretty flush all the way across. So now we're gonna put some pocket holes in the aprons, which is what we're gonna use to attach the top, and we'll get to making the top. This is the wood I chose for the top. Now this is a curly cherry, and it's from a tree that was 130 years old before it fell. And I've been holding on to this board for quite a while. I got it down 3/4 of an inch. We gotta glue it up, but you can see there's a gap here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put them in the vise, and we're gonna hit them with a plane to get them edge nice and flat, and then we will use some dowels for alignment, some strength, and we will glue that up. We're shooting for a top that's about 22.5 by 15.5. This is plenty oversized for that. See, we had a nice squeeze out and glue through the whole glue line. This top should hold up. We'll let it dry. When we come back, we will put an under bevel on the underside. and we'll put some finish on the table and the top and attach it and call it done. Now that we have the top cut to our final dimensions, what we're going to do now is put an under bevel on the underside, and we're going to do that using this simple shop-made jig, just made of plywood, and it's designed to slide on the fence. We tilt our blade to 15 degrees, we clamp the top to the jig, we run it through, we make an adjustment for the long side, and the bevels will be done, and then we'll sand this table up, get it attached and finished. The top is a curly cherry, so if we get a close-up putting this on, so you can watch the curl pop. Probably going to do about 3 coats total of this wipe on varnish. Very easy system to use. You just wipe it on, let it sit, a few minutes, wipe it off. Let it dry, repeat a few hours later. You build the surface you want. We're done with this, we're going to attach the top to the base and take a look at the table. The finishing coats of finish will be put on obviously after. There's no sense in showing you multiple times putting this finish on the same piece. You get the idea. Again, this tabletop, this piece of cherry was from a tree that was 130 years old, and I couldn't tell you how old the wood is that the cherry I used for the base. I took that out of a piece of 8/4, broke it down. The top may be a little darker right now because the wood's from a different tree, it's older, but in time the table will redden up and it will match it over time. And that's that. So there's our tabletop, under bevel. We'll get it attached. We're gonna do multiple coats on the top, 2 to 3 on the base, and the bottom we put 1 coat on. I will not put it on the very bottom anymore, but I will do the under bevel. So let's attach the top. So here's the finished end table, just needs a couple coats more of varnish. This video showed that you don't need complicated joinery to build furniture with angles in it. And what does 4 degrees look like over 90 on a splayed leg? We'll put the square here and show you. It's about 1.5 inches splay out, front to back, inside to side. Gives a nice stance. And once I get a few more coats of finish on this, I'll get some snapshots and I'll include that in the end of the video. So guys, thanks for sticking around and watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you.